Welcome to the Facilitators Deep Dive Podcast, your podcast on your way to facilitation mastery. Today, we are doing a deep dive into something called Shift and Share.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So we're using the Liberating Structures website for this one. And this one's interesting because it's something that you can use whether you are like a huge corporation.
Right.
Or just like a local community group.
Yeah, the scale is really flexible.
Yeah.
And it's all about spreading innovation.
Yeah. So whatever it is you're working on, if you're trying to figure out how to, launch a new product or even just improve your neighborhood park, this is something that could really make a difference for you.
Exactly.
But what is Shift and Share exactly?
Well, at its core, it's a way to break down the walls that keep good ideas hidden. You know, how many times have you been in a meeting or a situation and somebody makes a decision and then someone else says, oh, I wish I had thought of that.
Oh, all the time.
Yeah, so this is a structure that allows for all of those ideas to come out rapidly.
So is it like a brainstorming session?
Yeah. Sort of, but it's a little bit more structured than that. So you have small groups.
Okay.
And each group has an innovation and they present it.
Okay.
And then every 10 minutes, the groups shift.
Oh, wow.
So they go hear about a new innovation.
So it's like speed dating.
It is like speed dating for ideas.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that.
It's a great way to quickly identify what's relevant because I don't know about you, but sometimes I get overwhelmed with the amount of information that's out there.
Totally.
And you really need to kind of cut through the noise to figure out what's going to be relevant to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's one of the benefits of Shift and Share.
So you mentioned structure. So does that mean there's like certain elements?
Yeah, there's 5 key structural elements. And they're all really simple.
Okay.
And they can be adapted to different contexts.
All right, let's hear them.
So the first one is the invitation.
Okay.
And this is just a clear, concise message that tells people why they should participate.
Oh.
Why is this a valuable use of their time?
Okay, so kind of like setting the stage.
Exactly.
Okay, what's number 2?
Number 2 is space. And it's really flexible.
Right.
You could do this in a boardroom or a coffee shop.
Right, so it doesn't have to be like a big fancy...
Right. No. Which makes it really useful if you're trying to bring people together from different departments or even different organizations.
Yeah, very cool.
Number 3 is participation. And this is where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
Because in a traditional presentation, you sit and you listen for an hour.
Right.
But in Shift and Share, everyone's encouraged to contribute.
Oh, so it's not just like a select few people are presenting.
That's right.
Got it.
It's about creating a space where everybody feels empowered to share their ideas.
And that can be anybody.
That can be anybody.
Regardless of like their seniority or...
Exactly.
Oh, wow.
And I think that, you can get some really unexpected breakthroughs that way.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Like I can't tell you how many times I've been in a meeting and it's like the quietest person in the room who comes up with like the best idea.
Absolutely.
So I love that. Okay.
Okay.
So number 4 is groups.
Okay.
And you want the groups to be small enough for genuine interaction to really allow people to dig into the details of each presentation.
God, and then everyone rotates to make sure they hear everything.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah, that rotation keeps the energy up.
Okay.
And even if a topic isn't in your main area of focus, you're still going to get a taste of it. And who knows, you might find something that's really useful.
Yeah, that's great.
And then the last one is sequence.
Okay.
And I think this is probably what you were alluding to earlier when you were talking about the 10-minute time frame.
Yeah. Yeah, it does seem kind of fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the reason it works is because you have well-defined steps and a really strict time allocation.
Right.
So it forces people to be really focused.
Yeah.
On just the core of their idea.
So they can't like go off on a tangent or no.
Thanks.
They really have to distill it down to what we call the so what.
Right. Okay.
So it's not about all the technical details. It's about the impact and the potential.
So it's more about like storytelling than like data and...
Exactly.
Got it.
It's about engaging people's imaginations, making them want to learn more.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay. So now I'm even more intrigued.
Good.
But we've only talked about the framework. So I want to know how this plays out in the real world.
Okay.
What are some of the tips and traps?
Sure.
And you also mentioned that these riffs and variations.
Yeah.
So tell me more about those.
All right. Let's dig into it.
Okay.
So, it's interesting when you think about it, like the traditional approaches to innovation, they really miss the mark in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Because they tend to rely on this top-down model.
Right.
Where the experts decide what's worth pursuing.
Yeah. And it could be really stifling.
It can be.
Like you're at a meeting. You have a great idea, but you're not the designated innovator. So you're kind of hesitant to speak up.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's the sense that only certain people are allowed to innovate.
Right, right. Well,
and shift and share really turns that on its head and says everybody has something valuable to offer,
I like that.
regardless of their title or experience level.
Okay, but I'm curious about those potential pitfalls we were talking about before.
Sure.
Like, how do you make sure that a structure like this doesn't accidentally favor the people who are already comfortable speaking up?
That's a great question.
Yeah, what about the people who are brilliant but maybe a little shy or introverted?
Well, that's where the implementation becomes key.
Okay.
You know, you can't just throw people into the shift and share structure
Right.
and expect it to work magically.
Right, right.
Because you might end up just reinforcing those same power dynamics.
So it's not just about the structure itself. It's about creating a culture where everyone feels comfortable
Exactly.
sharing their ideas.
You need that psychological safety so that people feel comfortable sharing ideas that might be half-baked or outside the box.
Right. So it's almost like you're tending a garden.
Exactly.
You know, you wouldn't just scatter seeds randomly and expect them to flourish.
You need to prepare the soil.
Right.
You need to make sure they have enough sunlight and water.
Yeah. And maybe even some support for those little seedlings.
Right. And it's the same with fostering innovation. You know, shift and share provides the framework.
Okay.
It's the structure of the garden, but you need the facilitators, the leaders, to create those conditions for those ideas to really take root and grow.
So what are some of the concrete steps that people can take to make sure that shift and share lives up to its name as a truly liberating structure?
Well, I think one of the most important things is to think carefully about presenter selection.
Okay.
It's not about finding the most polished speakers,
Right.
but it's about finding people who are passionate and knowledgeable about their ideas, even if they're a little rough around the edges.
So it's more about substance than style.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You want people who can convey the essence of their idea in a way that's clear and concise and, most importantly, engaging.
Right. And that doesn't always require a PowerPoint presentation.
Exactly.
Or years of public speaking experience.
Sometimes those things can actually get in the way.
Right.
You know, when you're so focused on getting the slides just right that you lose sight of the idea itself.
Right. Or even, you know, people get so nervous about presenting
Yes.
that they kind of clam up.
Exactly.
So I think that's a really good point.
And that's why it's so important to encourage people to think about storytelling. You know, it's not about bombarding people with data or technical jargon.
Right.
It's about painting a picture.
Yeah.
Creating a narrative that really brings that innovation to life.
So it's like when you're reading a book and you get so caught up in the story, you forget that you're even reading.
Exactly.
You want to create that same kind of feeling.
Exactly. You want people to be so engaged with the idea. Yeah.
That they forget that they're in a meeting.
Right.
And that's why it's also so important to encourage people to bring their ideas to life in tangible ways.
Okay, how do you mean?
So, you know, it could be a prototype. It could be a sketch. It could be a simple object.
Oh, I see.
That represents that core concept.
Right, right. So you're not just talking about it in the abstract. You're actually showing people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're engaging multiple senses.
Oh, like that.
And that helps people to connect with the idea on a deeper level.
Yeah, it makes it more memorable.
It makes it more memorable.
Right, and then it's more likely to spark conversation.
Exactly.
And further exploration.
Because remember, we're trying to tap into the collective intelligence of the group.
Right.
You know, we want people to walk away from shift and share, not just with a head full of information, but with a spark of inspiration.
Yeah.
A new perspective, a connection to others who share their passion.
Okay, so this is starting to feel less like a structured meeting and more like an immersive experience.
That's exactly it. You know, like a journey of discovery.
It is a journey of discovery.
Like that.
But we can't forget about the practicalities.
Right.
You know, we talked about presenter selection, we talked about storytelling, but what about the actual facilitation of the event?
Right, right.
You know, how do you make sure that those 10-minute presentations stay on track and that the group rotations happen smoothly?
Right, because it does seem like there's a lot of moving parts.
There are a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
And the facilitator has to be really on top of things.
So it seems like that role is pretty important.
It's crucial.
To like setting the tone and making sure that everything kind of flows seamlessly.
Exactly.
From one innovation station to the next.
That's where we'll pick things up next time.
Okay.
We'll talk about the nitty-gritty of facilitating shift and share.
Okay.
And we'll explore those riffs and variations and how to adapt the structure to different contexts and challenges.
Okay, so stay tuned. We're about to unlock even more secrets of shift and share. All right, so we've talked about like what shift and share is and why it's so cool.
Right, the theory behind it.
Yeah, but now I want to like hear how this plays out in like the real world.
Okay.
Like, give me some examples.
Sure. So let's think about something like new employee orientation.
Okay.
I mean, how many times have you sat through a new employee orientation?
Oh, I do, man.
And it's just death by PowerPoint.
Yeah, I'm already falling asleep just thinking about it.
Right. So imagine if instead of that,
Yeah.
you could use shift and share to welcome new hires.
Okay, so instead of like that boring conference room, it's like...
Right. It's a much more dynamic environment.
Yeah.
So each department could set up an innovation station.
Oh, I like that.
And they could highlight their key projects, how they contribute to the company's mission.
Okay.
And they could do it in those like short 10-minute presentations.
Okay.
Focused on the impact, delivered with passion. Yeah.
Not corporate jargon.
Right. So you get like a taste of the company culture.
Exactly.
See the bigger picture.
And you also start to see those connections between departments.
Right. And those connections are so important.
Yeah. For collaboration, for innovation.
Totally. Okay. So that's like a corporate example.
Right.
Give me something totally different.
Okay. So let's think about a community garden.
Oh, I like that.
So you have all these gardeners and they want to share their expertise.
Okay.
They want to learn from each other. So each gardener could host an innovation station.
Oh, I love that.
Right. And they could focus on, their specialty.
So
maybe organic pest control.
Oh, yeah.
Or companion planting, or even like how to build a self-watering system.
Right. From like recycled materials.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
So you can see how this structure can work in a lot of different contexts.
Totally. And I love how it's like bringing people together.
Builds community.
Yeah.
Who share a common passion, and then they're able to learn from each other.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get a little crazy now.
Okay.
Think about a situation that's like maybe a little more challenging.
Right.
Like, okay, two companies have just merged.
Okay.
Tensions are high. People are nervous about their jobs. There's that us versus them mentality.
Right, yeah.
How could shift and share help in a situation like that?
Well, instead of focusing on those differences, what if you use shift and share to highlight the strengths and expertise that each company brings to the table?
Oh, I see.
So, you could have teams from both sides sharing their success stories, their innovative approaches, even their biggest challenges.
So instead of being afraid of this new company, it's like you start to see the potential.
Right.
For synergy and collaboration.
Exactly. And those personal connections, those shared stories, they can really help to break down barriers.
Totally. Okay, so I'm starting to see how shift and share can be used to address like all sorts of challenges.
Yeah.
From onboarding new employees to merging companies to revitalizing a community garden.
You got it.
It's like it's a universal tool for sparking innovation and connection.
And the best part is anyone can use it.
Right. And you mentioned those riffs and variations.
Yeah, so one of the most popular ones is the open space approach.
Oh, yeah. Remind me about that.
So instead of having like a predetermined set of presentations, participants actually propose topics on the spot. Based on their interests.
Okay.
And then people self-organize into groups.
Oh, wow.
Around those topics.
But it's like really emergent.
It is very emergent.
And, participant-driven.
Exactly.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But what about, like, I know we talked about time management and facilitation.
Right.
But how do you make sure that doesn't completely go off the rails?
Well, it's a balance between structure and flexibility. So the facilitator's role is really to set clear expectations, keep the energy high, and make sure that everyone has a chance to contribute.
So it's more about like guiding than controlling.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to experiment.
Okay.
Adapt the structure to your specific needs.
Right.
And most importantly, have fun.
Yes, have fun. I think that's a great takeaway for our listeners today.
It is.
Shift and share isn't a one-size-fits-all solution. It's a framework, for unleashing creativity and connection.
Exactly.
It's about empowering everyone to be an innovator.
Yes.
And creating a space where those brilliant ideas can flourish.
Well said.
And remember, innovation isn't about coming up with, like the next big thing.
Right.
It's about constantly looking for ways to improve what we're already doing.
Exactly.
Whether it's in our workplaces, our communities, or even our own backyards.
And shift and share is a great tool for doing that.
It's a great tool. So go out there, experiment, connect, and who knows, maybe you'll be the one sharing your next big idea at a shift and share event.
Maybe so.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. See you next time on the Facilitators Deep Dive Podcast, your podcast on your way to facilitation mastery. Until next time.
See you then.